There's only a couple Walmart guns I don't have. This is the one I'm getting this week based on Johnny Mac and Rod's videos. We're going to get the Barra 1866. And to be honest with you, I probably would not have gotten it except for their videos. Hey, I got a home. It's a pump action. It says it's going to give me 800 feet per second, so we shall see. It comes in a plastic bag. Let's get it out of its wrapper. I'm going to cut a couple things off like this. Take a look at it. First off, it's a lot bigger than I thought it would be, and it's also heavier. I thought it would be the feel of cheap plastic everywhere. It's got plastic stock, but the barrel and the shroud for the barrel are metal. It feels pretty solid. These are the pellets that I'm going to run through on the speed test. Crosman Fast Flight, the Crosman Gold Flight, the Hollow Point, the Excite Hammer, and the Daisy Flat Nose. Here are the results of the pellet testing. The first pellet up was the Crosman Hollow Point, and it had an average speed of 642 feet per second. Kinetic energy was 7.2. Look at that standard deviation. That's 2.3. That is very good. Then we had the Crosman Fast Flight. For speed, I was running that to see if it'd get close to 800. It ended up getting 735. Kinetic energy was 6.5 foot-pounds. Standard deviation was 8. But I did shoot it at the Coleman propane can, and it cut through 8 out of 10 times. And these 10 here are with the Crosman Red Flight. All direct hits went in. The two that didn't were glancing blows. We got the Daisy Flat Nose. It had an average speed of 653 feet per second, kinetic energy of 7.5 foot-pounds, and standard deviation of 3.9, so that's not bad. The H&N Excite Hammer had an average speed of 644 feet per second, kinetic energy of 7.2 foot-pounds, standard deviation is 6.6. Usually my H&M Excite Hammer does better than the Daisy Flat Nose and the Crosman Hollow Point, but in this particular gun, it did not. Gold Flight, 8.5 grains. It had an average speed of 644, which is pretty good for that heavy. Kinetic energy is 7.8 foot-pounds, so it was the best kinetic energy of the pellets, and a nice standard deviation is 2.6. We're going to try this area here on camera with the Crosman Gold Flight, see how that does. I am not sure why this one did not cut through as easily as the Fast Flight. The trigger pull on this one is 7.2 pounds. You pretty much need to shoot it supported. I ran the H&N Hornet twice just to see if it would cut through. And we've got the Hornet. It didn't cut through either, but it had an average speed of 589. The H&N Field Trophy Green. Here's the H&N Field Trophy Green, which is an alloy, which I thought would be in competition at breaking 800. Wasn't close. I just ran 718 feet per second. A problem the pellet has on this one has almost no margin of error, and it's going to fall down into the BB slot. You have to put it in just perfect. Here's an unusual thing about this. Owner's manual says to use automotive detergent oil. So I've used oil there, used oil on the O-rings of the piston. That's a strange looking piston configuration. Probably not the most precise way to get that oil on the appropriate things, but with a slight touch you can get a drop in here and there. It does pretty well with the Crossman hollow point, so that's what I'm using with that standard deviation. This, I think 20 yards is about right for this mid-velocity kind of grouping I have with open sights. This is the coolest open sight. Let's see if I can show it to you. I don't know if I'll see if I can enlarge that. The little loop in the metal there, and you could fit your target right in. The pumping on this is so large it couldn't even get it in the camera, but it makes it easier because of the lever action here. I'll finish up with a bench rest using an open sight, and we'll look at the grouping after I shoot. Initially, I was up here basically using your own kind of estimating. It turns out that if I just put that little hole, you're going to get most of your shots here. It'll be a little high, but the grouping is pretty good. A commenter, G-Man, when I was shooting my Winchester about this particular pellet being good for 1977, it's a little heavier than the hollow point. This gun tends to shoot a little higher. Maybe I could get a little better groups with shooting just a little heavier pellet. So I'm going to try this. Well, here's the final stats. Now that I've added the Norma Golden Trophy FTs, the average speed on these is 622 feet per second. Kinetic energy is 7.2, which seems to be in line with all the others. Look at that. Standard deviation is 1.99. This rifle shoots pretty consistent. 2 standard deviations in the 2s and 1 that stayed under 2. That's pretty good performance for the Barra 1866. Turns out using the Norma pellet was a good idea. I need to put a small scope on there. In between storms here, I'm going to try to fit in one more shooting for this video. I've got the chickens down there. I'm using the Normas with this Tasco scope. I did some practice shot 5 times and it did fairly well, so we're going to try this, try to squeeze it in. Here's a practice shot. Oops, I missed him. There's the chicken silhouettes from 20 yards. We will see what we do with 2 sets of 5. So it'd be 10, the regulation 10. Here's the second 5. Switch the camera angle on the second 5 so that you can see me shooting a little better. Didn't have time to go change the position on the first 5. You can see here the downside is I got to use tweezers to get the pellet in. My hands are not coordinated enough. This bench rest mitigates a lot of the issues with the trigger pull. Took too long on that one. There you have it, 8 out of 10. Got it in.